Hello, I'm Dave Jibson, editor of Third Wednesday Magazine, an independent quarterly journal of literary and visual arts, available in print and now free online at thirdwednesdaymagazine.org. This is one in a series of recorded readings produced to highlight books by some of our magazine's contributing writers. For this reading, I'll be joined by Leslie Schultz. Leslie is the author of 3 collections of poetry from Kelsay Books: Still Life with Poppies, Elegies, 2016, Cloud Song, 2017, and Concertina, 2019. And she also has a chapbook, Larks at Sunrise, Lighthearted Poems for Dark Times, from Green and Ginkgo Press, 2021. Her books are available from her at authors@winonamedia.net. Leslie currently lives in the college town of Northfield, Minnesota. It's situated on the Cannon River, just east of Prairie, west of hardwood forests, a bit north of the dramatic limestone bluffs of the Mississippi River, where she reads, writes a new poem each day in April, makes quilts very slowly, grows flowers and vegetables, welcomes all pollinators, even wasps, and struggles to understand the obscure abbreviations in knitting patterns. Welcome, Leslie. Pleased to have you with us.
Thank you, David, and I appreciate you and Third Wednesday for this chance to read. I'd like to start with a couple of poems from my more recent Kelsay Books. It's called Concertina. I'm a photographer, so my book covers are my own photographs. This is the family Concertina. It's a poem for my father-in-law, but it's kind of long, so I'm not going to read that one, but I'm going to read a poem for a poet and friend, a neighbor who lives on my street, Susan Jarrett McKinstry. It's called Silhouette, July Evening. At almost dusk, the garden fills with small lights twinkling among the flowering bee balm, slick lipstick red, the popsicle bright orange of daylilies, and ashy mauve new bloomed hostas. Random and brief ignitions occur over impossibly green lawns, seem caught in low hanging branches. On the porch, in front of the dimming white railing, quite near my chair, I now see a flat, thin, dark body floating. It's like a fragment of paper, lofted char, perhaps a bit of burnt manuscript still carrying a spark. A flickering poem that insists intermittently against the poet's will. And also from Concertina, I'd like to read this poem for my father, Richard Charles Schultz. It's called Magi -2. Snow falls outside as he sets to work on his prototype. First, he threads colored drinking straws on string, fine-tuning the count, the order, getting the proportions right. Then he begins cutting thin tubing, silvery aluminum, working late into the night, choosing clear fishing line, fine but tough. This intent man, a college senior, majoring in math and physics, is counting down the days until Christmas, here in married student housing, and the 10 days beyond to my birth, by quietly fashioning a double dodecahedron, a form with 24 points arrayed in 360 degrees, a star to hang above his dining table, rigid and shining, but collapsible, something beautiful that could follow us wherever he might lead. Its center open, able to hold all the hope in the world. And next, I'd like to read a couple poems from this collection called Cloud Song. The first is for my sister, Carla Schultz, who is not only a fabulous IT person in the corporate world, but a very artistic and gifted photographer of wildlife and birds. This is a form I don't often work in. It's a trio of haiku. Why do I keep them? Hawk feathers, gull, goose, and crow, with sharpened pencils. Glass jar, midnight blue, a bouquet of soft feathers and sharpened pencils. Feathers or pencils, which is most useful to me who dreams of flying? And this second poem from Cloud Song is for a fiction writer friend who was in the same MFA program I was. Her name is Jan Ryder Newman, and it's called Daystar. Here in the dark, waiting for the sun to proceed again over the curve of the earth, its daily round, and hearing bird song, I understand the whole world waits as we did. I think of traveling to your house so long ago, visiting. Our garden chairs were set beside your red subtropical blooms, the box of old negatives at our feet, key dark strips of film we layered into visors. Laughing, we looked boldly into the double dark of that solar eclipse, waiting, certain as songbirds, for the sun, its radiant return. And next, I'd like to read a couple short poems from this collection called Still Life with Poppies, Elegies. And this first one is called Memento Mori. I should say that I consider elegies not only to be for people, but for places, lost opportunities, anything that we're mourning, perhaps. So, Memento Mori. How easily certain simple truths slip from my mind. For instance, that glass is liquid and will descend slower than a glacier to thicken the bottom of a window, that the continents themselves are drifting, sliding over a fiery pulp of magma, and when they collide, so slowly, they sculpt those mountains that gather clouds about their peaks like spun sugar. Distracted by errant reading glasses, national politics, the unfolding beauty of my child, I forget for weeks at a time that my own days are numbered, that the very sun consumes itself simply by living its stellar life. And the second poem from Still Life with Poppies is my most read poem. I know this because I wrote it for a sidewalk poetry program that our city had. There's a copy of it stamped into the pavement in front of my house. I live 2 blocks from a college, and I see a lot of strangers pause and read this poem. It's not signed, so it's just a poetry moment, but I kind of peek through the curtains sometimes and observe that. It's very short. It's called Jazz. Barnwood weathers, splinters to silver, while I wait here, still hoping those jagged stars will sing me to sleep. And finally, earlier this year, as a response, I think, to everything that we've all been going through, I put out a collection of humorous verse. It's called Larks at Sunrise, Lighthearted Poems for Dark Times. And here is the final poem from this collection. It's called Happy Hour. Each evening, on the very stroke of 6, my favorite man and I withdraw to mix a reliable elixir to repair the daily slings and ward off bleak despair. As day fades into night, to change the channel, we pour some tea, slip into something flannel. And that's it. Thank you so much for the chance to read.
Thank you again for the reading, Leslie. Very enjoyable. Once again, my guest has been Leslie Schultz. Her books are available from authors at winonamedia.net. Thank you for joining us at Third Wednesday. Goodbye.
Bye.